Summer I was a member on the Interim Study Committee for Education, and there were basically 3 charges that we had as a committee. One was to study the funding for adult education. Another was to look at our start dates for school and see whether or not we wanted to make any changes there. And then the other had to do with after-school programming. So those were our 3 charges. We met and discussed each one of those. On adult ed, what we were asked to do by some of the representatives that appeared before the committee was to see whether or not we could find either an alternative source of funding or to make a request to the Budget Committee to add dollars so that we could keep up with the growing demand for adult education. I think our economy speaks to that. And but as the demand has grown, then the levels of dollars that this state puts into adult education have remained stagnant. In the end, what the committee decided to do was to make a request to the Budget Committee to see if we could find additional funds for adult education. The other one, after-school program, I think that speaks very loudly to the need to make certain that young people are engaged. Because we know that if we have them engaged in positive activities, then they're less likely to get involved in other activities that are not so positive. We did have a request from, I think it was Senator Jim Arnold from Michigan City, who has a background in law enforcement, and made the connection between keeping children basically engaged and keeping them out of the criminal justice system. We signed on to that and I guess made a recommendation that we try and find dollars when we get into our next budget session to try to aid and assist some of the organizations or some of the schools that provide after-school programming. And then the last one, I guess, was the most controversial issue that had to do with the start of school. There are many who wanted to make the summer vacations longer because of what they consider to be some decisions with as it relates to festivals. It was interesting because what we were trying to do, I guess, was to balance education and children's need for learning and making certain that they remember what they've learned and not have too much time between the time when they're in school and when they're not. So I guess in the end what we decided to do was to just study it a little bit more. I don't think anyone on the committee was wanted to make a decision at this time. And in fact, I think most of the committee members opted for perhaps it remaining a local decision, which is the way it is now. But we decided that we would continue to study that, and we made no recommendations other than the fact that we needed to continue to study it. Then on the last day of the meeting, it was interesting. We had a discussion and a presentation on teen violence, dating violence among teens. And some of the statistics that they gave were staggering. Say, for example, 1 in 11 teens experienced some sort of dating violence. And so even though that was not a charge of the committee decided that it was certainly a subject that we needed to go on record. And so what we recommended to the rest, what we'll be recommending to the rest of the legislature is that we develop a school policy related to teen violence, and maybe that teen violence and dating become a part of the health curriculum for the schools. So those were the issues that we discussed, and those were the recommendations that we intend to make to the legislature.